Okay, so one of the things that Madame de Pompadour did is she was like sort of again, this makes a lot of sense today because of like social media influencers and that sort of stuff. Like she was sort of the original social media social media influencer. Like she if you were at Versailles, and Versailles was where it was all at, and she was basically the lead, cultural person there. Like she set the styles, she set what was cool, what was not cool. And so if you wanted to be cool, you have to sort of follow that sort of thing. And so what she thought was interesting was great. And so the when we talk about Rococo, again, it's not that Rococo is connected to um, France or Madame de Pompadour, but it was sort of in that era, and it really is originally applied to the architecture and the decor. Like you see this chair here. This chair is very Rococo, and the reason is because like the Baroque would be fancy, but now again, like take the fancy and make the fancy fancy, and that's where you get Rococo. Like it's not just sort of this curved arm here, but then you're going to put these things on there, and it's going to all be sort of blinged out. It's all going to be gold, and it's going to be, it's not real gold. You know this, right? It's just painted that way, but it's still just super fancy. Um, it's also inspired by shapes and objects found in nature, because remember, nature is like sort of the key idea. So if we look at some of these designs over here, again, you're not going to find this thing here in nature. And yet it's inspired by nature, right? It's not the key word here is inspired. It's not that it is natural, it's inspired by nature. And then human beings then can come along and perfect nature. And that's going to be a big part of the Enlightenment that's going to come up a little bit later here, again, in this century, the 18th century, the 1700s. But like here we have this like cornucopia here, but then we're going to bling it out and bling it out. And that's very Rococo. Here's a like column, which again, this sort of thing here, very Baroque, but then we start adding in all this noise, and that becomes very Rococo. So it's like taking, if Baroque is sort of blinging things out, Rococo is blinging out the blinging out. This is all very synonymous with the Pompadour style. So this is actually called a Pompadour style of chair, and Pompadour is Louis XV's mistress. Now, look at the hairstyles over here. Again, if you're going to be in court, you're going to have a wig or you're going to have your hair done up. And again, you want to be noticed. That's the whole thing. So it's not just that I'm going to have my hair big, but it's going to be designed in very particular ways so it gets noticed. And then, of course, we're going to see things like this, where you're going to put essentially nature on your head, which again seems weird, but on a hat here. But again, the whole idea is what is graceful, what is pleasing, what's going to get you noticed. And so the hairstyles become a big part of this. The clothing becomes a big part of this. The decor. And it's not just like I'm dressed nice, but I've got to be dressed in such a way that makes me stand out. So as we look at sort of like the interior design here, again, this is in Versailles. You saw this in the video. Again, it's not just that I have, like Baroque would have the gold sort of line here and the gold like this and all that. But then the Rococo takes it like to the next level and like adds all the other elements into this thing. Again, not so much natural, but inspired by nature. Is it graceful? Is it pleasing? It would have been at the time, whereas we might find it to be a little busy, make you want to throw up a little bit while you're in the room, get a little dizzy, pass out, that kind of thing. I do want to really highlight the natural, or not natural, but the sort of trying to be, it's inspired by nature. It's that sort of an idea there. Let's just talk about architecture very quickly. I'm going to give you one slide here, and then I'm going to have you watch a little quick video. But continental architectural styles. So again, we have that same idea about nature sort of coming into this whole thing. So parks and gardens with statues and fountains is going to be an important part of this thing. A park is not natural per se. A garden is not natural per se. It's more, again, inspired by nature. If you look around at a park, you look around at a garden, it's not how it would be growing in nature. Nature's wild. Nature's a little out of control. We need to put human reason in such a way to control nature, to understand nature, to shape nature to meet what we believe is best. So again, nature is important, but human beings can then come along and perfect nature. So parks, gardens, statues, fountains. Again, fountain being just water movement. We'll make it move in different ways. Residences are going to combine comfort and grandiosity. Because again, remember, I'm the nobility. I got time. Why not be comfortable? If you're going to entertain a lot, you want them to be comfortable. You want them to, but you also want them to think this place is nice. So you can't just have a thing. It's got to be a blinged out thing. But it's also got to be comfortable at the same time. The structures are going to be enhanced with decorative features. So the structures themselves are going to look a particular way. So again, here's Baroque. Here's that Rococo style. So you see the Baroque, it's got the columns, it's got the shapes, it's not fancy. But then the Rococo, let's add some color, the green. Let's add some gold highlights, bling it out a little bit. Put some rhinestones on that building. Put a bird on it, that kind of thing, right? You just want this thing to look not just nice, but nice. So the structures themselves are art pieces, but then you put art on the pieces. So like that chair we had on that last slide, the chair itself is designed in such a way that looks like it is art in and of itself. But then we're going to just attach a whole bunch of things to it, decorative features that's going to sort of bling that out. Curved, elongated lines. You're not going to see a lot of harsh straight lines you're going to see, but you're not going to see a lot of sort of jagged lines. It's going to be curved. So like look at, for example, this right here. It's got the archways on the whole thing, or the dome on that thing. And I'll show you some pictures in a second. You're also going to see one more thing that's important is verticality, like reaching up. The engineering had reached a level where you could actually do this. So it's not going to be just sort of flat. It's going to be going up because, again, that's part of this grandiosity. So let me just show you this picture really fast, and then we'll sort of move on. This is Baroque. I mean, not Baroque. This is Rococo. And it looks Baroque on the outside. Like there's not the gold, there's not the fancy things like that, except there kind of is. It's just not as sort of all over the place. You got statues on there. You have the curves, this sort of thing that goes around and around and around. All the decoration that's on there to bling it out. The verticality of the whole thing. So again, part of this seems like this area right here, very, very Baroque. I mean, very classical, very Baroque. It's just sort of like, look at this. These are fancy. It's Baroque. But the whole thing itself becomes Rococo because of these added features to it. It's not that it's so different. It's just taking the things that are Baroque and taking them to the next level. Again, this is from Russia. This is the Hermitage or St. Catherine's Palace. It's one of those two things. But again, the same idea of the color, the bling, the gardens, the statue, how it all fits together. It's not sort of a separate thing. This is all one thing meant to convey a particular message. Let me give you one more picture, and then I'm going to send you to another video. You have this building up here, and again, you have these layers here with the ivy in front of them, with the grottos, the sort of hidden pieces down there, and the idea here being like this is a natural, I have quotes, if you can't see me doing quotes, imagine me doing quotes, a natural sort of hillside on which this building is. And we know this isn't natural, right? You get the staircases, it's very well designed, it's very particularly designed, but the idea is it's inspired by nature. It's supposed to make you think about nature that has been perfected by human. Okay, so yeah, we'll come back to this in a second.